Good evening, everyone in Facebook land and live streaming. I am Larry Rodarte, and I'm here again on Mi Gente on Air, about to bring you a great show tonight with entrepreneurial women in our community. So if you have questions or you've got concerns or you just want to make a comment, our guest tonight is Lori Gonzalez and Jessica O'Brien, the mother and daughter duo that is making waves here in the Great Lakes Bay region. So please come on into the room and let's share their story with the community because it's a good one. And I'm real proud to have them here as my guests on Mi Gente on Air tonight. So we're going right into the show. And if you got any questions or concerns, like I say, please feel free to put them in the chat room.
Welcome to Mi Gente on Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Mi Gente on Air, where we bring you everything with a Latino base in mind, from our foods to our music to those Latinos in business who are making a difference and contributing to our community. Well, did you know that Latina women are the fastest growing segment of the business community in the United States, playing a key role in fueling the nation's economy? Many come from a connection of having a work ethic that comes from immigrants and migrant workers. These individuals work really hard. And right here in the Great Lakes Bay region, we have several Latina women who are in business to make a difference. And to take, for instance, Lori Gonzalez and her daughter, Jessica O'Brien, they've been captivating our interest with One Big Cookie and a Little Rooster of late. But their roots lie within an entrepreneurial business in our community, El Gallito Restaurant. How many of you remember that restaurant? Find out tonight their story as I interview these ladies here on Mi Gente on Air. So please welcome Lori Gonzalez and Jessica O'Brien. Ladies, good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
It's wonderful to have you both here, your grace and your beauty. And I love having family on my show. And yes, they are my family. And so I'm going to start with Lori, who is my first cousin here. And she has One Big Cookie. And I want to know a little bit more for the audience out there, her story. So, Lori, what can you tell us about who you are and what your background is?
Okay, my name is Lori. I am born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan. I am the daughter of Felix and Josie Gallardo, and that's where my roots started with business. Um, After school, actually, let me go back a little because when you are born into a family business, it starts way earlier than sometimes you even want it to. I can remember when my dad had his first restaurant, the one on Hess in Washington. That's where he taught me how to count change back and how to clean tables.
How old would you say you were at that time?
I was probably maybe 6, 7, 8, around there.
Wow.
That's and the other times when I was not doing those things, he allowed us to go play across the street in the little park there, my sister, my brother, and myself. And so from that point on, my dad and both my parents, they taught us many things about business and about integrity, living a honest life and a good life. They taught us about faith and living, putting God first. So that turned into me working. I went to school, of course, and then when I graduated, I felt I wanted to be a part of my family business. So right out of school, I went to work with my family. And 30 years later, I end up, that's how many years I worked, not counting the ones that I started before I was 18. So I stayed there for 30 years, like I said, and that's where One Big Cookie was born.
Well, let's go back a moment because we didn't
Okay.
actually introduce the family business, and
Okay.
I think that's really important to the audience out there. And Lori, her maiden name was Gallardo, which
Mhm.
is her father's name, Felix Gallardo and Josie, as she mentioned, and the business was called El Gaito Restaurant, and that they had a business on Hess Street first, and then also on Genesee, and then finally in Bridgeport on the Dixie Highway. And they were known for the great patitos that they made for so many years.
Yes. Yep. And that's like Larry said. And my parents, they had the restaurant for 42 years. So that gave us plenty of time to cultivate hard work. And that's what business is. You know, I did see my parents go through some hard times, good times and hard times, but they persevered and they never gave up. And that's what they instilled in us three children. And then, of course, us into our children. But I had hardworking parents. They came from a background where their parents and their siblings all worked hard, and I thank God that I have that good work ethic from
Mhm.
them. That's what they blessed us with, knowing how to work.
So Lori comes from a family that settled actually in the Bridgeport area. She went to Bridgeport High School, and she's like she said, she worked for 30 years. And I can remember so many times where we would go into the restaurant and you were as busy as a bee going
Mhm.
through, she was a waitress, she was a patito maker, she was rolling out patitos.
Yes.
I mean, she just did everything there for so many years. And how do you feel about that now, looking back? Because obviously it plays a role in your business today.
Yes. At the time, um, I didn't like it all the time, to be truthful. I didn't always like it because my mom, my dad was the more playful one, but my mom, she was the slave driver.
Yeah.
And she didn't let me, which is now I'm grateful for, but she did not let me slack at all. She was on me all the time. And then my dad was the buffer. So it kind of balanced out for me. Um, when when I would be rolling patitos, and I did not like it, Larry. That was 200 a day almost I'd be rolling. And so after, yes, all these years, my shoulders and my arms sometimes still feel the pain.
Yeah.
But
Now
my
you're paying for it, right?
yes,
Well,
yes.
I wanted to just mention, because I prefaced this whole interview in the regards that they come from an entrepreneurial family that were migrant workers, started out as migrant
Mhm,
workers, came from Uvalde, Texas. And that was the Rodarte side of hers. And the Gallardos, they came from Indiana.
mhm,
But they all worked the fields. They
mhm,
worked
Mhm.
really hard.
mhm.
And that's one of the things that I know that has been difficult within our family. I know Lori and I have had this discussion years back where our parents didn't want to talk about the
Mhm.
migrant years. They were that hard for them, and it was very difficult to bring any information out. And me as a journalist, I always wanted to ask questions and find out what life was like. And but they didn't talk about it. It was very difficult, and if we did talk about it, they sometimes ended up in tears.
Yes.
And so, that's kind of the background. But as we had mentioned, it's our history, and it's a beautiful history when we look back at their life and how they came from the migrant fields and how they knew that they had to work very hard in order to make a life here for their families. And that's exactly what they did with the El Gaito family. And so here we are sitting with two beautiful women who have great businesses going on, and they're in business for themselves, and they've made great contributions. So with that, Jessica, I want to ask you, tell me a little bit about you and who you are.
Okay. So, as Larry said, I am Jessica O'Brien. I am also Saginaw native. The only difference I think with me and my mom is I went away to Michigan State. Go green.
Go
Go.
green, go white.
And but a little bit, I had to giggle when my mom was telling you a little bit about our history, right? Just about entrepreneurism and growing up in a family of business. One of the things that I've taken with my whole professional career has been the idea of, it first started with sorting beans. And I wasn't a part of the restaurant because I wasn't born yet, on Hess, but I was a part of the one that was on Genesee. It was my favorite restaurant. If any of you all remember it, it was magical. But one of the things that I remember starting off is sorting out the beans, right? We pick out the bad beans, taking them out, cleaning them for my grandma and grandpa and for whoever was working, mostly Helen. Everybody knows Helen. Um, and but that taught me responsibility. It taught me work ethic. It taught me compassion. It taught me to tap into empathy for my community, for individuals that worked with us, to see my family, like my mom said, it wasn't always easy, but it was worth it. And I guess that's part of what goals are, right? Is that it's not always going to be easy, but it will be worth it in the end. But a little bit about me, I have a science degree with a focus in community development. And so I've worked in the nonprofit world my whole professional path. I've worked for once was called Health Delivery, now Great Lakes Bay. Then I worked for the Emmaus House. I also worked, so that was a house coming for women coming from jail, prison, and rehab. Then I worked for Saginaw County Youth Protection Council, which was for families, but also for youth and young people. And then lastly, my position that I had before this was with the Ezekiel Project, and I was the executive director there, working on advocacy and different pathways to bring money here into our community. And so with that said, I've been, right, obviously my family has been entrepreneurs. My mom consistently had one big cookie, and I can't even tell you, Larry, how many times I said, Mom, we need to open up a business. Mom, we need to do this. Mom, let's open a bakery, or let's have a coffee shop, or let's just have something. Well, I think post-COVID and in 2021 is when she was like, okay, I'm ready. And then that was the birth of the Little Rooster. And then we were going back and forth, and we weren't real sure what we wanted to name the business. And we weren't, we knew it. We wanted it to be a lifestyle and an apparel brand with the focus on our culture, our faith, our community, also to boost our fellow entrepreneurs. So individuals that we work with, whether it would be to train or to assist grow their businesses as well, because it's a wealth of knowledge between the both of us. Not to toot our own horns, but experience gives help, right? So we were going back and forth, and I said, Mom, what do you think about the English translation of our legacy? And she just kind of looked at me like, huh. And then we stopped and we took a day or two, and then we came back. El Gallito means the little rooster. And so we adopted that name. We transitioned, we'll say. We transitioned our Mexican-American rooted name into the Little Rooster. And so that's how we were born.
So tell me a little bit about the brand of the Little Rooster. Like, what products are you selling? Because I've seen quite a few, and I love them. And it has the rooster emblem, but it also is promoting a lot of Latino culture and foods and positive messages. Tell me a little bit about that.
Did you want to say a little more? No. Oh, okay. So about the brand. So we, of course, culture, right? We're Mexican American, both my mom and I. And we really honestly, we just were like, we need something for us. We need something that's going to represent us in Saginaw and or in the Great Lakes Bay region, right? There wasn't too many distributors, we'll say, or entrepreneurs or businesses at the time when we had thought of the inception of it. But I knew I could always go to Facebook or Instagram and find something from California. I could find something from Texas. I could ask somebody to bring me something from Mexico. But it really wasn't anything from us, right? Like it wasn't something that we could do. And we all of a sudden were like, well, we can meet the need, right? We want to do that. And as far as the positive messaging, that again goes to what has been ingrained in us, which is our faith. We are both we are self-proclaimed, right? We write in our bios that we are a mother and daughter duo, that we focus on our culture and our faith, our Christianity. And so we are firm believers that we might be the only positive message that someone sees. And so we try to embrace that. And we push, well, I guess we push it with our brand.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mhm.
And let's go back to One Big Cookie, because Lori, how long have you been in business with that, as well as how did that come about? Because I know you've always had a love for
Mhm.
baking.
Okay, that started, it's been over 20 years. You know, some people think that it it's just started, but no, it started back when our family had our family business. And it wasn't even my idea. It was my sister-in-law's idea. She just said, Lori, let's just start making some desserts so we can sell them for, for your dad. And I said, okay. I had no idea at the time how to bake, or it was all new to me. You know, that's all I knew how to do was to make Mexican food, but not really anything else. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So here I was looking for recipes, and there was 4 cookies that I would sell all the time, and they were the chocolate chip, the sugar cookie, the oatmeal raisin, and peanut butter. And I could not keep them on the shelf. And then I thought, okay, maybe I can bake, because people were buying my cookies, and they would come in just to buy the cookies. So then I thought, okay, maybe there is something to this. So then that's where it kind of grew from that point on. And then so that's how really One Big Cookie was born, while I was working at my parents' restaurant.
Wow. Wow. And I do remember that. And I do remember when you started One Big Cookie, and I had asked Lori during the 15th anniversary of Mi Gente magazine. So that's how far back this goes. To give me a cookie that we could, celebrate that milestone.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she put Selena, the singer, on a cookie in the form of a magazine, because that was the very first magazine for Mi Gente magazine, was Selena on the cover, and we were celebrating that, and they look great. They really look great. And she just comes up with these ideas, and she's got beautiful cookies for a baptism or for graduation, every big milestone event that anybody is experiencing in their life. And so I just saw some with the Golden Girls. What was that about?
That was for someone's birthday, I believe. I forget after making so many who they actually were ordered from, but those were fun. I've gotten to, believe it or not, I am a self-taught cookie maker as far as that kind of cookie. Those are custom cookies, the royal icing, the ones where I could put characters on or people on. So those are that's a whole different ball game. Those are more involved. And that, like I said, YouTube actually taught me how to make those cookies, because I watched hours upon hours upon hours. And let me tell you, there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of just disasters, let's just say that. But through me persevering, me constantly working at my skill, and to believe it or not, even after 20 years, I am still watching videos to looking to see how I can perfect my skill even more. So that's how that one started. As far as, like I said, the other ones, which were the peanut butter and sugar, and those came out of a recipe book, and then that's how I started with those. But as for the other ones, I made my own recipe for the cookies that those come on. So I'm the only one that I know how to make that cookie, and that would be my secret. I would keep that secret. I worked, like I said, a lot of trial and error to get the right consistency, to get the right taste, to combine the royal icing and the sugar cookie to taste good. So that's how that one started. And then cakes, that was a whole different ball game too.
Oh yeah, she does some wonderful
Yes.
cakes, beautiful
Thank
cakes.
you.
And so we here are very lucky in the Great Lakes Bay region, because I think you two are at the forefront in regards to Lori, you doing the baking and all, because I've seen others now doing it. They're coming out and they have baking skills as well.
Yes.
And I see just a lot of entrepreneurial minds that are in the mode of, I can do a business, I can be my own CEO.
Yes.
I can. What's a song by Miley Cyrus? but you know that's what
Yeah.
really makes me see in
Mhm.
both of you, because we in the Great Lakes Bay region, we have these entrepreneurial women
Mhm.
who are doing great things, and it just seems like this generation coming forward, and I'm talking those from post COVID to pre or after COVID, I should say. It seems like more and more so that's what people are doing. They're starting their
Mhm.
own businesses, and Latinas are at the forefront of that. 87% growth rate that is coming in the business sector is from the growth of Latino women starting businesses. How do you feel about that as women?
That's amazing.
Mhm.
That number right there made my heart leap.
Mhm.
Because at times and I'm not speaking for every Latino woman, but at times I think that it has been perceived where it's not about you. You're going to support someone. You're going to support someone else's dream.
Mhm.
But there's one of our shirts that I love and I wear it often. It says, Mija, dream big. And that's what I believe our message is. Keep on dreaming, dream big, dream as big as you can, because you're your only limit, right? Like it doesn't have to stop. You can make as much money as you want. You can go as many places as you want. You can do what you want. It doesn't have to be someone else's vision or dream. And I think that so for me, that excites me, it ignites me, it makes me so happy to think about that, because not only in this world, the entrepreneurial world, but also in my professional career, there's been some times where there's been some challenges. There has been some individuals and some businesses that might not have wanted to sign on because they had a Latina organizer or an individual that was the head of the organization. And it was a little disheartening, but you know what? I kept on going. I could still hear Josephine Gallardo telling me, keep on going. There's a necklace that I wear often, and I wore it tonight, and it's my grandmother's. And it's just to remind me that I am right where I need to be and where we need to be.
Well, you bring up Josephine Gallardo. How do you think she would feel about you both? And I want to hear from both of you on this, because I can't even talk.
I
So
know,
go
Mija.
ahead. Take it from me, Lori.
I
So my grandmother, I will think a little bit about Larry's aunt and my grandmother. I think she would be so proud. She, as my mom said, she was a tough cookie, right? She was tough. She was stern. I think I waited maybe 20 plus years to tell my mom, man, Mom, she was mean. She was so mean. But I think that was her love, right? She wanted us to do well. She wanted us to succeed. She wanted us to be top tier in everything. We lived a life of excellence. And so I think she would be looking at us with that smirky smile and just beaming.
Mhm.
That's how I see her. I envision her.
Yes, and I the same way, because I was actually, when I was praying, and I said, Lord, I just was giving thanks because we are where we are because of God, and that's the only reason why we are where we are, So all the glory goes to Him, of course, first. And I was praying. I said, Mom, I said, Dad, I said, I know you're looking down, and I know you're so proud of us. I know you are. You instilled all of this in us, and now it's coming out. It's flourishing, and I know that they're proud. It just makes my heart rejoice, knowing that they would be so happy for us.
And you have a sister as well, Abigail, who's also doing her little own
Yes.
business. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my sister makes the most beautiful greeting cards and photo books for any occasion. I mean, she's very gifted, very talented. And my brother was too. He had his airbrushing business. He worked on cars. So we all took from that. We were blessed to all have that instilled in us, business ethics.
Yeah. And Josephine Gallardo, my aunt, one of the things that she would say, and it was just so simple. And yes, she was stern, but there was a side of her that she could smile and laugh and she would just say, "It's okay, it's okay." And all my life, if I did something bad, I remember knocking over a ceramic that she made for Christmas for my mom. I knocked it over and broke it, just as she was presenting it to my mom, and she knew how bad I felt, and she says, "It's okay." So I know that love from her, and I know all my cousins. Josephine Rodarte Gallardo, she was a very special woman, and I think I see so much of her grace and her determination within Jessica as well as Lori, my cousin. So we'll be right back. We're going to talk more with Lori Gonzalez and Jessica O'Brien here on Mi Gente on Air.
You're listening to Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Hey, everybody, we got a lot of people in the room tonight. And just please, somebody remind me out there, do not interview family members. It's too difficult. No, but, it's really something. And I want to mention something, not on the actual show, but here. A year ago today, it was a Tuesday, and I remember coming back from Detroit interviewing Elvis Mackle Jr. because he was the valedictorian for Arthur Hill. But it was the hardest show I have ever had to do because the Uvalde shootings happened that day. And I know that, we have to always keep that in mind and remember Uvalde, Texas is a city where we originate from. Our parents, when our grandparents migrated to America, they migrated to Uvalde, Texas. And so there's that connection. And, I had to mention that because I know that sometimes incidences like that, they're so overwhelming, and yet sometimes they're forgotten, and we can't ever forget. We can't ever forget because it's still happening on a daily almost here in America. But anyways, I just want to thank everybody for the comments. There's a lot of comments, ladies, in the room, and I'm going to hit up on some of those as we go back into the show. But you got a lot of people in the room too, so you got definitely your fan groups here. So let us go back into Mi Gente on Air, and I just want to thank everybody who's on the live stream tonight for being with us here to see the success of these two ladies here in the room. So we'll be back with Mi Gente on Air.
This is Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for being with me here tonight on Mi Gente on Air. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and tonight my guests are Lori Gonzalez, who is the owner, CEO of One Big Cookie, and her daughter, Jessica O'Brien, who shares the business The Little Rooster with Lori as well. And they're both here tonight to talk about their entrepreneurial spirit here in the Great Lakes Bay region. And what we've talked about is their background, and they are the descendants of Josephine and Felix Gallardo, who owned the El Gaito restaurant in Saginaw for many, many years, 30 some plus years. And they are the product of that. And one of the things I think that has driven these women is their faith in God, in Christianity. And I want them to talk about that a little bit, because I know recently I've seen a post from Lori where she said, she talked about scripture in God-given talent. Tell me a little bit about that.
That is because God gives us our talent, that's where it comes from. And when we tap into that talent will take us. God says, this is scriptural in Proverbs 16:18, that our gift, he will put our gift before great men. So whatever your gift is, whatever, I talk to my grandkids, the older ones that can understand. And I said, Mijo, what are you good at? Think about what you're good at, because what you're good at, that's God gave you that. And that gift is going to take you places. That gift from God is going to explode and put you before great men. So faith is definitely big for us. That's faith. Like I said earlier, faith is everything. God is everything. Without him, there is nothing. So I instilled I was instilled in that. My parents were both Christians, and they raised us that way. Our faith was big to us. So then, of course, me in return, raised my children that way. So they are all living the life that I would like them to live.
Well, Terry Hibbard's on here, and I know that she is someone who is a baker as well. She's out in Florida now, originally from Saginaw. She says, "Your
Okay.
season has arrived. To
Oh.
God be the glory."
Amen.
And Pauline Cap says, "The beauty of your parents show in your baking and in the little rooster. There is so much love in all you both do. Thank you for all you do in our community."
Thank you.
So you definitely have those who are following you and what you're doing. And one of the uh, milestones that these ladies has been presented with is a cover of a magazine, and that's the Saginaw Township. Is that the name of the magazine? Saginaw Township
Living.
Living, yes. And Cristina Malacara, she is behind that and was one of the ones who interviewed you and took your pictures.
Yep.
And tell us a little bit about that experience, because to be on the cover of a magazine, a mother and daughter duo, to be able to showcase yourselves and your story in the community. What's that been like for you?
It was, first, I guess I wanted to say thank you to Christiana. She saw us, and we have had a familial relationship with her for some time, but in her professional world, she saw one big cookie. And then she saw the little rooster. And at first I was like, Mom, guess what? They reached out to us and they want to do this. And then I started laughing, thinking about for all of you that know Noah and Erwin, and now my husband, Evan, those three aren't usually the ones that want to be at the forefront, right? But I was like, Mom, they're going to have to take a picture and be in a magazine. And so we laughed about it, we prayed about it, and we made the decision to go ahead and go forth with it. One, we both attend Greater Dimensions Church with Pastor Julian and Ava Gonzalez. And one of the things that Pastor keeps teaching about is your gifts, right? He keeps talking about the gifts, the things that come natural to you, like my mom just mentioned, and how, again, your gifts will be put before men, right? Men and women, both. But actually just this past Sunday, he was ministering and he was going back and forth and he was telling us about the gifts, right? And we were talking about that, but it was about essentially that God wanted to use this as a platform, and that he wants to reach out to different individuals through us, right? Whether it was for my grandparents, it was at the restaurant. I can't even tell you how many times people would be sitting at the head table. Or, and I've always said that if I had a place, I wanted a head table because I wanted to have a space for people to come, whether it was to talk, whether it was to shoot ideas, whether it was to grow, whatever that looked like, I wanted that platform, right? And then I was, and so as we were talking about this opportunity, we both were excited. And then, oh my gosh, Larry, when we took pictures, that was the most comical part, right? Because we were able to be us. And I believe that if you see the magazine, that they captured us, who we are as a family. There's something that I say, that we are truly blended by God. We are a blended family from my mom and a blended family from myself and my husband. And being blended by God is something unique. The love that we all have. And I think about my sister and my brother. I haven't brought them up, but my sister, Jacqueline, she is an entrepreneur too. She has a home decorating business. And my brother, Andrew, he is here local in the community, and he's one of the chefs that you might visit when you go to Timbers. But we all have it in us. And so for us to be able to tell the world, the community, Great Lakes Bay region, what we've been blessed with and how can we work with them, it was an honor. It really was.
No, it's really a blessing, because we know that nowadays magazines and newspapers, they've always been at the forefront to get the word out, if you will, or to capitalize on marketing and all. But now that things have changed, And we know it's now Facebook and the the live streams like this, but to be able to take that front cover and to put that as a post on Facebook, it was beautiful, and I was so happy to see that with you both on the cover. It brought tears to me, and it's one of the things. Val Blanco, she's saying so many great memories of El Gaito. It's truly missed, and thanks a lot, y'all, making me cry, reminiscing about our childhood with Tia Josie and Uncle Felix. Happy tears. And and maybe we're talking a lot about family and everything, but that's who we are. That's
Yes.
who this family is, and it always has been. And she mentions Lori mentioned her brother Felix, my cousin as well, and he was so driven with El Gaito after his parents passed away, and unfortunately we lost Felix at a very young age. But man, that was his heart. El Gaito restaurant was his heart, and
Yes.
it was wonderful to see him excelling as well and taking on that banter from his parents and all. So it's a testament to who you are as women, a testament to who you are as Latinas, and it's a testament to who you are just basically as entrepreneurs, people in this community. It's a beautiful thing. And if anything, the message I think tonight is to have that faith in yourself and go forward, and do your thing,
Right.
everybody, because we are now living in a time where anything is possible, really.
Yes.
And I know that education is something that we've always pushed and all, but it takes more than just education. It takes passion in what you do and what you love, and that faith, like Lori and Jessica have both said. So tell me a little bit about how the businesses have been for you as of late, post COVID.
Okay. I wanted to share something. Many times I've heard my mom and dad, people would, come to them that wanted to start businesses, or were going to start a business, or already were in business, but they would come and ask my mom and dad questions, being that they were already in business for so many years. So they had some wisdom. They had, working, being so many years in business, they had knowledge in it. So I remember my mom would always tell them not to despise small beginnings. And my dad, people would come in the restaurant, and they would say to him, "Hey, did you see so and so's got a restaurant?" They started like a Mexican restaurant, and my dad was so happy for them. He was like, and they, I think, were saying it to see how he was going to respond in a good or bad way. And he responded with, "There's just so Saginaw's so big. There's room for all of us." That he was happy for them. So I always think about those two things. For me and my business, and how we handle our business. I'm always happy to see new people starting businesses. Women, men, whatever they are. And I want them to take this with them, not to despise small beginnings, because I was there and I would be discouraged at times, but then I would hear my mom's voice, "Lori, don't despise small beginnings. It's going to come." And sure enough, it came. It didn't come when I thought it was going to come, but it came. And it took time. Like I said, it took time for me to work on my skill, to persevere in the things that I needed for where I am today. And I can remember one day when I was praying, and this is why another thing is, don't you may be in a place where you might not like at the time. You may be doing something that you think is boring or whatever, but God may have you there for a season to teach you for what you're going to have for your future. And one day when I was sitting and I was praying, it was like God let me see myself from a little girl. And I can remember I was in kindergarten, where I would almost be a perfectionist in my penmanship. And I would be writing and writing and writing just to get it just right. And then from that point on, he showed me when I was in grade school, in high school, and all the different classes that I had, like art and crafts and all kinds of things at school. And that was for me today. I'm able to write, I'm able to draw, and those are from the things that I learned as I on the way. to where I am now.
Nicely said. Nicely said. And Jessica, what you're ready to speak. Go
I'm
ahead.
laughing
Preach it,
because
girl.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about my sister-in-law Megan. She was just saying to me the other day, she said, "How the heck did your mom get a whole Wolverine on a cookie? How did she draw that? How did she write that?" I said, "My mom has practiced penmanship since she was a child." So it made me laugh when she said that, but to highlight that she does. She has beautiful penmanship. Now, I don't so much because I've had to scribble a lot, but that's her talent, right? And so if you think about to go back to the question, Larry, post COVID, we started this business post COVID. So for us, it's been growth since. However, it's been a learning curve, right? Because it's a different way to do business. It's a different way to, I do believe that people are becoming more, well, they're out and about more, right? People are going and engaging, they're going to events, they're doing different things. And that's one of the things that uh my mom and I have worked at, is that if that platform's not there, we create it. And so with that said, I think that that's why we actually had our 1 year celebration back in March, and we had a pop-up. And what that was symbolism for me especially, was all of my entrepreneur friends. I wanted everybody that was building a business to build it with me, right? And that's build it with us, excuse me. And I can't even tell you, I mean, I was radiating. I was so overwhelmed with joy and just gratitude for the community, not just the community that supported us, but the community that supports our local economy, because it's about local, right? It's about us. It's about Saginaw, Bay City, Midland, the state of Michigan. You know, we are a force to be reckoned with. And not only just the 87% of Latina women that are going into the entrepreneurism, but when you think about us as a people, we are we're at the cusp of everything. And we may be the influential vote, we may be the influential director, we may be the individual, and maybe you're not at that level, but maybe you're the individual that I see when I go to any local business. And so for us, post COVID, it has been growth and opportunity for growth, opportunity to meet new people. I've met so many people since I've transitioned from the Ezekiel Project into a broker for the Little Rooster, and it's been an amazing experience. What God has done, what the dreams that I've had as a child, to be like my grandparents, right? Like I've even challenged some of my family and friends to use more cash, because my grandpa used to use cash all the time, right? Like those little things have been instilled in me, but I think that those are the things that I want for my present day. So I love the opportunity to be able to use my influence in this area.
Well, for a few years back, and it's been, I think, 40 years now, that the development of the Mid-Michigan Hispanic Business Association came forth in which was called the Tri-City area back then, if any of you remember. But I know that my aunt and uncle were part of that at one point. So for me to be able to see them and to see Lori and to see Jessica, I'm talking 3 generations of business entrepreneurs, and it's been wonderful to see. And when we look back at the Mid-Michigan Hispanic Business Association, that later went on to take the name of the Great Lakes Bay Hispanic Business Association, there were a lot of individuals who were in that group who had their parents start businesses. They kind of fell in. Sylvia Ortega, her mother and father owned La Azteca grocery store. There were so many. Tony Garza from El Farolito, and his parents owning the El Farolito restaurant. And, that was really how, it was structured, I think, that business association. And now today, I see it totally different. We're living in a different time, but you're seeing a lot of young people who are going for their dreams, and they don't necessarily have to have that structure or that background of coming from somebody who actually, had a business or has that business sense, but they're finding their passion. And I see a lot of that within our young Hispanic people today. How do you guys feel, or what could you say in regards to, because there's that adage of people who sometimes, um, they want to, they don't necessarily want to root for a Hispanic entrepreneur or business. It's something that is dealt with on a daily, and in my case especially, and I'm not afraid to say that. But tell me, how do you feel about that? Because Laura, you touched on that a little bit with what your mom said to you, and that's a great saying. I never heard that, but tell me what you guys are thinking.
Um, I think Jessica and I have had that conversation many of times, and it does sadden me that we don't always have the support from our own people, you know. And I can say for my business, I'm not saying that Hispanic people and don't support me, but they're not the top people that support me. So I don't know why. I can't say, you know, but it does sadden me that we don't always get the support from our own people.
Yeah. Jessica, what's your take on it?
Hmm. So not just with Little Rooster, I would say from my professional career, um, I didn't always have, yes, when I was younger, I had my family. I had my big shout out to my cousins, Mika and Val. They were always there to support me. Larry was supportive of me. I was active in some of the advocacy elements at a young age here in our community. But then when I went away to school, and even when I came back for my professional career, I didn't necessarily have support from our community, meaning the Latino community. And I was a little bitter. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bitter just for the fact that I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why our people didn't support each other, and it was always divisive, where we couldn't do what my grandparents said, whether it was support everyone, right? Saginaw, Great Lakes Bay Region, Michigan, the United States. It's big enough for all of us to do what we need to do. Now I think that I'm trying to change the narrative. I'm really trying, not just me personally, but through the Little Rooster, my mom and I working together, one big cookie, Little Rooster, change the narrative of we can support each other. We can grow. We can change. We can flip it. Let's, for the people that know me back in the old day, I would say, let's flip the tables. Let's go in the room and flip the tables. Because just because someone says you can't, who are they? Who are they to say that you don't have A, B, and C? You do, especially if you feel it inside of you. And so I guess now I feel like let's band together for those individuals that are interested in changing the narrative, interested in not only changing the narrative, but growing. And I'm going to say this, let's not forget our roots or our history, because those were influential in me and my mom and my cousin and the producer, Jonathan, right? Those things are influential in us. And so let's take what we had there and compound on it. Let's grow. We can grow as a community. And that's how I feel about it now.
Nicely said. Wow. And the thing is now is the time. I mean, we see the growth, and I talk about it all the time on every one of my shows, I think. Right, Jonathan? I talk about how, the influence of the Hispanic food today, whether it's the food trucks or the restaurants. I just drove by on Bay Road and seen how busy Cazadores was, as well as the new restaurant Rio Luna over there by the mall. Hispanic food is a driving force in the United States. And along with that is the music. There's things happening on the Billboard charts that have never happened in the history of that chart, the top 100, and so those two things, which, actually give a lot of attention to any individual, is really big. And then with you compound the idea that so many Latinos are going into business, men and women, we see it. So, now is the time. Now is not the time to, be down on somebody because they're starting a business. Now is not the time, to what people say on Facebook and all is hate. Now we're being real, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're being very real on this.
Yeah.
And in the old days, the term envidia was very big in regards to the Latino community and why people didn't support their own people. And I'm sure it happens in other races too. It's not just us, but this is what we know because that's who we are as Latinos in this community. And so, as Jessica said, now's the time to grow and compound and make it happen, because that's what we all want to do, right?
Right.
And so thank you, ladies, for being here with me tonight. Elvis Mackel just came on. He says our time is now, and I can't agree more. But let me give you your last minute or two here before we sign off. Tell me what you would like to say to the community about your businesses.
I would say do it afraid, because you're going to be afraid. You're going to be afraid even to post that post. You're going to be afraid to take that step of faith. But God says, do it afraid, because he's got your back.
And I'm going to say thank you. I want to say thank you to you, Larry.
Yes.
We not only appreciate just this interview, but to banter back and forth, to talk about who we are, our roots and our values, to Facebook, to our friends, to the following, to people who are here. Thank you. We appreciate you. We've been in the community I'm 42 years old, so I've been here for 42 years. And I appreciate the love, not the hate, but the love. So thank you.
And I just want to say, Uncle Felix and Aunt Josie started the business El Gaito restaurant on Hess in Washington, was it? In 1968. So, I mean, it goes way back. One of the very first Mexican restaurants in our community. And I just want to say, Amy Morales says, bravo, Lori and Jessica. Your love and your spirit radiates and graces us all. Truly blessed. Keep being you. Thank you for you both being strong Latinas. And with that, I want to say good night to everybody. Thank you for being with me here on Mi Gente on Air as we continue to move forward as Latinos in our community and hope for the best for everybody. So thank you, and arrivederci in Italian, as well as hasta luego in Spanish. Thank you so much. Adios. And so we have it. A great show tonight. I told Lori and Jessica, we have 24 minutes before commercial, then 24 afterwards, and it just seems to go always so fast. Wasn't that fast?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we could say so much more. And Terry Hibbert is on here again. She says adelante, moving forward. And Dolores Vasquez Cameron, she says congratulations on all your success. So I think that if anything, that I hope there's that this show the message is that if you find your passion, you can go forward and do your own business. And if there's any young person out there that's listening, or a grandparent, you may want to have them listen to this show, because I think it was very inspiring. And is there anything else you guys want to add?
I just want to say something to you. Out of all the people, in this blesses me, because like Larry said, my dad was the owner of El Gaito restaurant, and he is the one that had the original patito, and now La Union Civica sells the patitos. And I've told my kids and many of people, I said, if anybody had taken that name, I would want them to be my family, to keep it going. And Larry has. So that blesses me, Larry. Whether you know it or not, it does. And so support that.
Yes. Support the Civica.
Yes, because Larry does so much in the community as well. And we are proud of him as well. And we appreciate him.
Thank you so much. And I can't tell you how many times people come into the Civica when they're selling the patitos and they remember El Gaito and their patitos. And it's so, it's such a blessing. And like Lori, I don't really like rolling out the patitos as well. But it's a necessity because it's homemade food, and we want to proclaim that. And, we're just so blessed because it really has been the patito that has kept the Union Civica going, especially during COVID, when we lost all our rentals and we lost all our events and we had no income coming in. So it was that patito driven by the people of Saginaw that kept the nonprofit, the Union Civica Mexicana, going. So with that, thank you so much again for being with us here on the live stream, and spread the word about Mi Gente on air, because we're trying to spread the word about our Latino community, whether it's here in the state of Michigan or like my cousin David Guevara, who's watching from California. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.